Imagine this. You're deep underground in a pitch-black corridor, the only light coming from flickering oil lamps that cast giant, wavering shadows on the walls. The air is thick with dust. Every breath tastes of dry limestone. Your hands ache from hours of carving hieroglyphs into the tomb walls. Your back is drenched in sweat, and your forearms are trembling from holding a chisel since before sunrise. Somewhere far above you, the scorching Egyptian sun beats down on the desert. But down here, you're trapped in a world of shadows, silence, and secrets. Secrets so important that if you whisper them to the wrong person, it could cost you your life. This wasn't a romantic adventure from a movie. It was the brutal, exhausting, and often dangerous reality for the crews who built the eternal resting places of Egypt's pharaohs. Today, we're going to step into that world, into the lives of the people who carved history into stone, and discover why you probably wouldn't survive a single day in an ancient Egyptian tomb crew. And along the way, we'll meet a queen who ruled as a king, peek into the hidden village of the workers, and taste the food of the Nile's golden age. So, let's step back in time, and into the shadows. Why you wouldn't survive a day in an ancient Egyptian tomb. Close your eyes and imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a cliff in the blistering Egyptian sun, the Valley of the Kings stretching out before you in dusty silence. The air smells of hot stone and sand. The only movement is a thin shimmer of heat rising from the earth. Beneath your feet, hidden deep within the rock, a tomb is slowly taking shape, a secret chamber meant to cradle a pharaoh for eternity. And you are one of the workers making it happen. But this isn't a job you can simply walk away from. From the moment you're chosen to join the tomb crew, your life is no longer your own. You live in a hidden settlement, away from prying eyes. You work in shifts that blur together, day after day, in darkness so complete that your torch feels like a small, stubborn star in an endless night. Every tunnel you help carve, every wall you decorate with sacred hieroglyphs, is part of a secret so closely guarded that, revealing it accidentally or not, could mean death. The work begins before dawn. You rise with the others, stretch out stiff limbs, and swallow a quick breakfast of coarse bread and watered beer. The sun hasn't yet cleared the cliffs, but already the heat is building. By the time you reach the tomb entrance, sweat beads along your neck. The air inside is cooler, but it's heavy, stale thick with the dust of stone. You light your torch, knowing it will last only a few hours before it needs to be replaced, and step into the darkness. The tunnels twist and narrow until you have to turn sideways to squeeze through. The sound of chisels tapping against stone echoes all around you, like 100 distant heartbeats. You join your place in the line of carvers, your mallet in one hand, chisel in the other. The work is slow, methodical, each blow measured so the stone breaks cleanly, each groove carefully shaped to match the sacred forms of hieroglyphs that must be perfect. These aren't just decorations, they are spells, prayers, and warnings meant to protect the pharaoh's soul on its journey to the afterlife. Hours pass. The heat in the tunnel grows unbearable. Your torch hisses and smokes, and your throat feels as dry as the desert above. You stop only when your arms ache too much to lift the mallet. A foreman walks past, scanning the walls and the workers, making sure no one lingers too long or slips away into a forbidden passage. His eyes linger on you for a moment, long enough to remind you that this is no ordinary workplace. You are not here to ask questions. You are here to work, and work is dangerous. Not because of curses, that's more of a story outsiders whisper, but because of the stone itself. The ceilings sometimes collapse without warning, sealing men inside forever. Dust fills your lungs, making you cough through the night. Your body aches in ways you didn't know it could ache. An infection is a constant threat in this hot, cramped environment. And yet, the work continues. No matter what happens, the tomb must be finished before the pharaoh dies or soon after, before his body begins to decay. Secrecy is everything. When you're brought into the crew, you swear an oath. You do not speak of the work. You do not tell your family where you go each day. You do not sketch the layout of the tomb or mention the treasures being sealed away. Even among the workers, not everyone knows the full design. Each team is assigned to a different section, so no one person except the architects and overseers understands the complete plan. This way, if anyone talks, the tomb's location and secrets remain hidden. The guards enforce this secrecy with an unblinking presence. They stand at the entrances, in the corridors, and sometimes even inside the chambers as you work. They carry spears and short swords, and they don't hesitate to remind you verbally or otherwise that you are replaceable. Their orders are to ensure the Pharaoh's eternal rest is not disturbed, and that means ensuring you never reveal what you've seen. Occasionally, whispers pass through the crew, quiet, careful rumors about men who talked too much, a worker who joked about the size of the treasure being sealed inside, another who seemed to know more than he should about a hidden passage. The stories never end well. Sometimes these men simply vanish from the worksite. Other times, you hear their names spoken with a subtle shake of the head, as if to say, don't end up like him. The irony is that the men building these magnificent tombs are not the ones who will ever step inside them once they're finished. The moment the last block is placed and the entrance sealed, the Pharaoh's eternal home is lost to the living, except in memory. And even those memories fade, buried under the weight of time, secrecy, and the shifting sands of the desert. But perhaps the most difficult part of the job isn't the danger or the secrecy. It's the unshakable feeling that you are building something you will never be part of. You are crafting a resting place fit for a god-king, filling it with gold, statues, and treasures beyond imagining. And when the work is done, you return to your small, bare home with its mud walls and simple furnishings, knowing that the life of luxury you've built is not for you, it's for someone who will never know your name. Still, you keep working, day after day, month after month. The tomb takes shape in the darkness, walls blooming with painted gods and scenes of the afterlife. You know that one day, perhaps years from now, the Pharaoh will be carried down these tunnels in a grand procession, surrounded by priests chanting prayers, and then the entrance will be sealed forever. That's the reality of life in an ancient Egyptian tomb crew. You wouldn't survive a day not just because of the heat, the dust, and the danger, but because of the weight of secrecy pressing in from all sides. The tomb is the Pharaoh's gateway to eternity, and for those who build it, it's a place you leave behind in silence, as if it never existed at all. The queen who became Pharaoh while most tomb crews served male pharaohs, one of the most extraordinary rulers in Egyptian history, was a woman, Hatshepsut. Born around 1507 BCE, Hatshepsut was the daughter of a pharaoh and the wife of another. When her husband died young, the throne should have passed to his son, her stepson, Thutmose III, but Thutmose was still a child, and Hatshepsut took on the role of regent, ruling in his place. What makes her remarkable is that she didn't just hold the throne temporarily, she declared herself pharaoh outright. She even took on all the symbols of kingship, the headdress, the royal kilt, and yes, even the false beard. Her statues show her with a masculine torso, blending male and female imagery to project authority. Under her rule, Egypt thrived. She commissioned grand temples, like her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahariya, stunning terrace structure carved into the cliffs on the west bank of the Nile. She expanded trade networks, sending expeditions to the mysterious land of Punt, returning with gold, incense, and exotic animals. Hatshepsut's reign was peaceful and prosperous, a golden age, but her decision to rule as pharaoh wasn't without controversy. After her death, many of her images and inscriptions were defaced or destroyed, likely by Thutmose III or his supporters perhaps, to erase the memory of a female pharaoh from history. Yet, despite the attempted erasure, her monuments and achievements endure, reminding us that Egypt's story wasn't only written by kings, but by queens who defied expectations. The workers' village at Deir el-Medina. So where did the tomb crews live? The answer lies in a fascinating archaeological site, Deir el-Medina, tucked away in the desert hills, not far from the Valley of the Kings. Deir el-Medina was a planned village built for the artisans who worked on royal tombs. It wasn't just a cluster of huts, it was a walled community with neatly aligned houses, streets, and communal areas. Each house was modest but functional. A few rooms, a flat roof for sleeping on hot nights, and storage spaces for grain and tools. The workers lived here with their families, which meant children grew up in the shadow of Egypt's greatest construction projects. Because of the secrecy surrounding their work, the villagers were somewhat isolated from the outside world, but life here was far from silent or dull. Archaeologists have uncovered an incredible number of written records from Deir el-Medinian papyrus, astraca, pieces of pottery, and limestone flakes. These records give us a vivid, human picture of ancient life. There are love letters, some tender, some passionate, between husbands and wives. There are complaints about stolen tools, disputes over property lines, and even records of worker strikes when rations were delayed. Speaking of rations, The workers were paid in kind: grain, vegetables, fish, and most importantly, beer. Beer was a staple in the Egyptian diet, providing calories, hydration, and a bit of cheer after a long day in the tomb. The people of Deir el-Medina weren't just laborers, they were skilled professionals, proud of their craft and well aware of its importance. Their village offers a rare window into the daily rhythms, challenges, and small joys of those who literally built the afterlife for Egypt's kings. Feasting in the Nile's golden age, let's step away from the dust and stone for a moment and imagine a feast in ancient Egypt. The Nile was the lifeblood of the civilization. Each year, it flooded, leaving behind rich silt that made the land incredibly fertile. In the golden age of Egypt, this meant plentiful harvests and plentiful food. At a feast, you might find fresh bread, baked from immer wheat and shaped into round loaves or flat cakes. Bowls of figs and dates would be passed around, their sweetness balancing the savory dishes. Honey, the prized natural sweetener, was drizzled over pastries or mixed into beer. Meat was less common for everyday meals, but at a feast there might be roasted goose, beef, or fish pulled fresh from the Nile. Vegetables like onions, leeks, and cucumbers added freshness, while spices and herbs from trade brought bursts of flavor. And, of course, there was beer, frothy, thick, and slightly sour, served in clay jars and poured into cups for guests. Wine was rarer, usually reserved for the wealthy, but in a royal feast it flowed freely. People would recline under the shade of palm branches or sit in open courtyards, music playing in the background, flutes, harps, and drums. Dancers and acrobats entertained, while servants moved between guests with trays of food. It was a celebration not just of abundance, but of the Nile itself, whose rhythms gave life to Egypt year after year. For the tomb crews, these moments of plenty were a reminder that their hard work served not just the dead, but the living community that depended on the stability and prosperity of the pharaoh's reign. When we think of ancient Egypt, we often imagine the grandeur of the pyramids, the glitter of gold, and the mystery of mummies. But behind those wonders were real people who sweated in the heat, labored in the dust, and kept the secrets of the pharaoh's eternal home. Working in a tomb crew wasn't for the faint of heart. It demanded strength, skill, patience, and absolute loyalty. Life in the workers' village was filled with its own dramas, loves, and struggles. And yet, through all of it, they built something meant to last forever. From Hatshepsut's bold reign to the humble homes of Deir el-Medina, from the suffocating tunnels to the lavish feasts, Egypt's story is a tapestry woven from both the grand and the everyday. If you enjoyed stepping back into the world of ancient Egypt, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more journeys into the past, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which part of life in ancient Egypt would you have loved to experience, and which part do you think you'd never survive? Thank you for joining me in the desert sands and shadowed corridors. Until next time, may your days be filled with discovery and wonder.